Mountain, Island, Lightning Bolt, Spell Pierce, Switchblade, Stab Wound, Red Mage, Blue Mage.
Yay, I did it. We're live.
Yeah.
What? Wait, no, I almost started flexing. I don't like that. Stop flexing. All Kenny does is show off his muscles to me, and I hate it. I don't want to see it.
You find it threatening.
I find it threatening. I find it to be showboating. I find it to be aggravating. I find it to be terrible. All those things and more.
Okay. I'll keep it
just cut your arms off, and then we'll be fine.
Here we go. There's a little bit of neck there. Here, how's that?
I hate it. I hate this too.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on. We got a show to do. Stop this fooling around.
I'm in the frame. We've got important business to attend to today. What? Are you rubbing your eyes?
Should we just go ahead and get into it? Just put the music on?
We should introduce the show, probably.
Everybody knows what's going on. This is Red Mage, Blue Mage, baby. I'm Red Mage. I'm Amber.
Blue Mage, Kenny.
And I just want to hear this song that I've never heard before.
Okay, let's do it.
This segment show song for show and tell. Have I heard this before? Oh, well, let's listen. I'm listening to it now.
What's that coming on down the bend? Looks like some magic articles and or videos. Guess it's time for another show and tell.
Put on your cowboy boots and tip your hat off to a great article. That's what that was. Amazing.
See, I made that, and I knew that you would like it because it was like cowboys.
Cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, I like cowboy shit.
I just love it because it's like a total non sequitur. Has nothing to do with the segment or magic or anything.
I mean, lassoing up some good articles.
Sure.
Wrangling it up a nice big old juicy steak of information.
Circling the wagons around the content.
Wearing ponchos. I don't know. Let's. What are we doing today?
So it's show and tell. So this means both you and I brought an article in, each of us.
Oh yeah.
To discuss.
So, which one are we going to talk about first?
We should start with yours.
I didn't read it.
Okay.
just letting you know, I didn't read it.
So disclaimer.
I saw it while I was going to bed.
Did you skim it? Oh, God. Did you read the Cliff Notes? It's a long article. What is the article?
So it's a Wired article, which was like pretty okay, cool. I really like that the first thing you see when you click this link is this little ATM set in a mystical land that's just shooting out magic cards.
Yep.
Whoever made this GIF, you're fantastic and I love you.
Although it doesn't make sense because the cards are shooting out of where it says insert bills here. So
yeah, okay, so I take it back.
This is garbage.
Like you. This is absolute trash.
No.
Good effort though.
No, it's good.
So it is titled The Stockbrokers of Magic the Gathering Play for Keeps.
Right.
And this was an article written by Cecilia O. Anastasio. I'm so sorry. I butcher names. I apologize.
Is that an O or is that a D? I think it's a D.
I think it's an O. It's an O because look at the D in De Anastasio. Look at the D. Oh, I said it wrong.
Yeah.
I said Cecilia O.
Yes.
This is Cecilia dot. I'm just gonna stop talking.
You can look up the article. You can find it.
It's on Wire. The Stockbrokers of Magic the Gathering Play for Keeps. It was published April 23rd this year. Mm-hmm. The video was made by Alex Walbaum. Great job, Alex.
Oh, there's a video?
That's the thing that's playing up top.
Oh.
They don't say GIF, they say video.
I see.
So the byline or like the subheader is the subtitle is the market for the popular strategy games cards has started to resemble Wall Street, complete with speculation, arbitrage, and yes, insider trading. So I did read like a quarter of this, mostly just the fun like set up of this world, where basically it's like, so MTG finance is just fascinating to me, and like how people are is just with things like commodities, and it's just a weird psychological thing that's very interesting to me. It's just like what happened in the pandemic with the toilet paper.
Right.
Like, why the fuck toilet paper, for one thing?
Right.
And two, like, why are people stocking up on so much of this stuff? I mean, I know why, to make money. And it's kind of just a prevalent thing that happens in society. It's like, if there's a shortage of something, people will pay for more. If there's a perceived shortage or whatever, people are going to do this thing. I have like no economic anything in my brain.
Supply and demand. That's what I know.
Yeah. Seize the means of production. That's another thing that I've heard of. So I'm just throwing it out here right now. I read this several paragraphs of article. It's interesting to me. It's a world that I will never be a part of. I probably will never be a part of. I can see Josh being a part of this world, like heavily.
Yeah.
As an
Seth.
evil DM, Josh. Oh, does Seth do MTG finance?
Yeah, he's bought boxes of things speculatively. He's bought Moxen from sets where he's like, Moxes always do well eventually, even if they don't look good.
Right.
So, yes.
Okay, so it's very interesting. You know, we have like all these, I guess it's illegal for insider trading in the real stock market world and like all that stuff, getting secrets and tips from things. But in Magic, it's like the fucking wild, wild west.
Anything goes.
If you are friends with somebody who is close to R&D and they tip you off, or they hear through the grapevine that some set's going to come out with certain cards in the card list, you are already ahead of the ball. You can start buying up the old copies and getting it ready to sell for when people start. Wasn't there something recently that just happened with? I can't remember. Maybe it's in this article.
Yes. I think it's this very first anecdote.
Oh, look
Pioneer.
at that. Look at that. They even say the Wild West in this article. I didn't even know. All of this has made for a Wild West secondary market.
Well, look.
I could write articles for Wired. I could do that.
My intro theme song now is just like perfectly thematic.
It fucking fits. I'll just make sure to always get show and tell things that are related to the Wild West so we can open into the segment and it ties. I'll make sure to do that.
Yeah, so a recent thing, because I think this does happen quite frequently, the opening anecdote in this article is that Pioneer as a format is going to be released, but some insider information happens where some people know about it before it gets to announce this new format. And so people realize, these cards, this certain collection of cards is going to be much more valuable than it used to be because it's going to be part of this new set. So get your hands on as many as you can get right now while they're cheap, because they're going to be really spiked up. And pretty much every time something like this happens, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Magic Twitter at all, you'll just constantly see, like right before a new set gets announced. The same thing happened with Modern Horizons, I think. Right before it gets announced, you'll see spikes in prices on cards before the announcement gets made, because there's always leaks. Yeah.
And it's such a weird, like, I could see the temptation to get into this because you could make some ridiculous bank if you are in the right circles of contact to be able to make stuff. Like, it's just ridiculous to me. It makes me just like seeing things like $16,000, $5,000, making money off of cards. Yeah, because like to me, it's just like goes to like how we put what we put value into, and I gotta say this, I'm gonna regret saying it, but it's like it's just a game. It's not for many. It's more than just a game for many. So for me, the reason why I'm fascinated by it is because, like I said, the human psychology of it. It's like you put so much emphasis on this thing. This is so important, the value of it, because of this group has said this is, you know, is important to people. But yeah, I don't know. I just like it. I like reading about it. I read this article and was just like, this world that's inside the world of magic.
Yeah.
That is just, it blows my mind.
Yeah, it does. My take on it, I think people who are into this, like, I think about my friends who are into it, there is definitely an enjoyment that goes over and above the actual money that you're making by doing it. Because I think as far as, like, time investment that you're putting into it, for most people who do it, it's not worth it. And I've thought the same thing about gambling. You know, it's like, you could try in most games to, like, eke out a little bit of an edge in a game that you're playing in the casino, and you can make a little bit of money after working really hard at the casino. It's like, I'm always just like, why not just get a job? And it's like, because it's fun to feel like you're beating the system, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's a story in here about a person who gambles.
Yes.
And it gets caught up in that. I think it's just funny to think of going to, like, mtgstocks.com and seeing a marquee with a ticker that's like, Dawn of the Dead, $2.35 plus 48.73%. Prosh, Skyraider of Kerr. It's just like such a funny, it's just funny to me. It tickles me. Not in a ha-ha way. It's just like, that's amusing and kind of like, what a world we live in.
Yeah, I think it to me, it just exposes, like, all stocks are like that when you start really thinking about it, though. Don't you? Like, oh, we're buying and selling what? Like, shares in this thing that, like, hypothetically exist, and then the bottom falls out, and it's like, people realize we all just collectively agree, oh, none of this meant anything. None of this was really anything substantive to begin with. Right. And, like, Magic is definitely that way, where it's like, all of a sudden, Wizards could say, this card's banned. Oh, it's worthless now.
Right. Another thing, too, is that you could have evil people. I mean, obviously, there's going to be people who will throw off, and it's like, it's just, my mind goes into, like, this is stuff, again, as Amber will never touch, never get into. But, like, as a game master and playing in, like, heist games and this kind of stuff, it really makes me think of these people as, like, Ocean's 11-esque characters, right. Which is funny because they're probably just sitting at a computer on Discord and, like, looking at tweets and then just watching stuff and talking to people and not really, like, you know, like they're doing a heist at Wizards of the Coast where they go inside with a thumb drive and like,
they take a scan
getting information
of the uncut sheet of the next set.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I just read this article and I just thought it's very interesting to me. I've said that a lot. I don't have anything else to say about this. Other than, have you ever done anything yourself with MTG Finance? Did you ever get into, like, the actual selling? And which is so funny because it's like a trading card game. You're supposed to trade each other, right?
No.
But instead
I just go straight to a dealer and just buy the singles.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is now.
Right, but before then, I never. I can count the number of cards I legitimately traded from myself to another person and vice versa on one hand, probably. Like, yes. When I was the very beginning when I first started playing, and it was just me and my friends and the other people at my school who were playing Magic, and it's like, oh, I've got a horned Triceratron, and I'll trade it to you for your, like, rampaging Gorloth or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the only instance of that I've really done. But what?
Sorry, I was just thinking about Rockwalla.
Another part of this article that they touched on, because they're basically like, this article touches on a bunch of different aspects of the secondary Magic market, basically, is what this entire article is about.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that struck me was thinking about, I did have a former friend who was big into, like, going to the local card shop and trading cards and trying to get value. One of the stories they tell in this is people have probably heard the the story, it's like an internet story. The person who made a blog following their journey, they started with a paperclip, I think.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they traded it up for something, just like a normal, like, I'll trade you this paperclip for your Post-it note or whatever. And they kept doing trades, and eventually they kept trading long enough and kept upgrading their trade. They owned a home. So they started with a paperclip, and over the course of several years, they got a house. And then someone in the Magic community...
time for that shit.
Someone in the Magic community was inspired by that, and they started with some...
Red paperclip.
Was it a red paperclip?
It said a red paperclip, I thought.
I thought that was the original story. And then
maybe.
They started
Whatever.
with Pact to Power. Is what it was called. Doesn't matter. The point is, I think this is basically the same thing. They start with some jank common, some 1 cent common card, and they kept trading this card for other cards until eventually their plan was, I want to get one of the Power 9, and they got, I think, a Pearl Mox,
right,
which is worth like $300. So kind of a similar story. And the thing that struck me here is that other people were obviously inspired by that story, and they tried to make it happen too. But it kind of turns nefarious and predatory very, very quickly. And this is what reminded me of my former friend, who would talk about, like, in the same kind of like MTG finance kind of mindset, going to the store and basically taking advantage of people who didn't know what their cards were worth. You know, I'll trade you this card for that card. I know my card is worth very little compared to yours, but you don't know that.
Right.
But you want my card, so I'll trade it to you. And it's not a trade happening on even footing. And there's just a lot of weird scumminess around all of this.
Yeah, I agree. I again, a world I will never be a part of. I don't want to get into trading and wheeling and dealing Magic cards or buying stuff.
The part I think is interesting and valid, and this is like Seth, for example, or I think what Josh would be into, is thinking about a new set is coming out. I'm going to pick up like this, and this is like Seth's method. There is, in Modern Horizons, a new Mox came out, Mox Amper, I think it was. And he was like, I'm going to buy a bunch of those because even though it doesn't look very good, the Moxen always get good eventually as more and more cards come out.
Right.
And so he bought a bunch of them. That stuff I think is interesting, where it's like, I'm thinking about what will the future of Magic be? What will future sets do? Or, you know, the core set comes out and it's like, there's a lot of graveyard-themed things in this core set. Maybe that means there's going to be a graveyard theme in the upcoming expansion. I'm going to invest in these other cards that have to do with the graveyard because I think it's going to pan out. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of the future, do you just want to fast forward to... I'm done talking about it.
Okay. We can...
I'm done talking about this.
We can jump into my show.
Move forward. Speaking of the future.
The future of Magic.
Yes. Tell us about your article.
So it's called The Future of Magic. This is on the Mothership, the main Magic website. And it's by none other than Mark Rosewater. This was on July 6th, 2020. And in this article, he's basically... I don't even call them predictions because he's obviously very much plugged into what the game is going to be doing. So it's just him saying, here's what you can expect in the future of Magic over the next several years. Yes?
Nothing. I'm not scrolling through and seeing things.
You're making faces.
Let's talk about it. Why I'm going to be making faces.
Okay, let's go through one by one. And I want your reactions. I'll share maybe my reactions as well.
Okay. Magic is 27 years old?
Yeah.
Damn.
It's almost as old as we are.
I could be my child.
No. How old are you?
I'm 52.
Oh my god. You look great.
Thanks.
Okay, so number one on the future of Magic is rehabilitation of failed mechanics. He provides an example of this, which is always the example I use as well, which was in Eventide, your era where you first started playing. There was this mechanic called Chroma, which counted number of mana symbols on something, and it was very mediocre, the response.
Sounds boring.
It is. And then on Theros, the Greek mythology-themed world, they basically just made exactly the same mechanic, but they called it devotion. So it's like devotion to the gods. And so if your devotion to blue was a certain amount, you got certain benefits. And that was a hugely widely accepted and praised mechanic, even though functionally it's basically the same.
Right.
So I think they just kind of took that and said, we can take mechanics that had lukewarm receptions and do it better. Another example also from Lorwyn was Persist. A creature would die, and if it had Persist, it comes back, but it has a -1/-1 counter. Mm-hmm. That mechanic was, again, okay. They brought it back in Innistrad and called it Undying. Now they come back with a +1/+1 counter, and it's called Undying. Hugely accepted.
Yeah.
Like, really praised. So he's like, you can expect us to be looking at mechanics that didn't do so well the first time and try to do it right.
So what are you thinking? What mechanics are you thinking of?
It's tricky because you basically have to look at mechanics and see the failed potential that they had.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just asking. We don't have to think about it.
Well, I don't know if I can, because the thing that pops into my mind as a failed mechanic that didn't do very well but had potential was in Kamigawa, they had flip cards. Mm-hmm. So it was 2 halves of a card, right side up and upside down, and it would transform. They've already kind of fixed that with double face cards.
Yeah.
Just a better version of that. So I don't know. I don't know where that's going. I think, speaking of Kamigawa, we'll flash forward a little bit here. I predict that in the next few years, we'll be going back to Kamigawa. There's enough demand, and I think they could do... It's same thing with these old mechanics that didn't do well. They could do a much better job with it.
I want to go back to... What's it called?
Are you okay?
No.
What do you want to go back to?
Wow, I just feel a lot of W's and N's in my head, and I just can't say the word. Am I having a stroke?
What kind of world is it?
It's pretty. It's Lorwyn.
Literally the one I just said.
Did you say Lorwyn?
Yeah, 2 or 3 times.
I don't know what happened.
W and N?
I just feel a lot of W's and N's in my head. Okay, sorry. Lorwyn is what I want to go back to.
Well, maybe we'll revisit the idea of worlds they may come back to at the end of this article. Let's keep going with what Mark Rosewater
Fine.
said. Okay. Number 2, new frames.
Whatever. I don't care. I don't care about frames.
There's a lot of text here, but basically he's just saying that expect more new frames. I think this is a very no, this isn't even about the future. This is the present of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I don't care.
I think this is a cookies for every meal kind of situation.
Ooh, speaking of, I'm gonna get some cookies.
Sure, but for every meal, you're gonna get sick if you have it for every meal. And I feel like having a new crazy frame every set, it just starts to get a little bit old.
Well, that's why I said I don't really care.
It's like the God damn it, I'm such an old man right now. What's the stupid meme?
We're falling apart.
Wired,
tired,
uninspired. This
Galaxy Brain?
This is what frames are. It's some of the frames comes out and it's whatever. I'm looking at the stupid adventures from Throne of Eldraine.
They weren't stupid. I liked them.
I was not a big fan of those.
Whatever.
And I don't expect them to come back, especially because ultimately it's just flashback. It's a fancy version of flashback.
Okay.
But sagas, people were sagas. Whoa, this is amazing. They've already brought it back. It did super well. So that will come back. So I think it's just very hit or miss. I think in the same way, you can't do full art lands all the time and have it be fun and cool. You can't do new frames all the time either.
Just as a production person who has to worry about templates and things, God, I would hate to manage their art stuff.
Yeah. I feel for those people. You have to make a brand new frame every time. Yeah.
Anyway.
I will say, like I said, this is a very tame thing to say that will be happening because we just got done with Ikoria, which had Mutate, different card frame. Then before that was Theros Beyond Death, which had Sagas, alternate card frame. Then Throne of Eldraine, which had Adventures, alternate card frame. And then before that was, I think, War of the Spark, which didn't have new card frames, except kind of because they had Planeswalkers with passives. So they just kind of do this most sets now, is have weird card frames. And even when they don't have that, they have collector booster packs of varying kinds that have weird card frames.
Yeah.
So I think they do it because it's like, it gets people excited. I think that can run out of steam. I think that can get stale. But whatever.
Yeah.
All right, scrolling down.
I don't even care about the second one either. This third one either.
Yeah, I'll just go through these. We'll kind of rapid fire and get our thoughts here. Double face cards. Already mentioned them. I'm pleasantly surprised that they have not gone crazy on double faced cards. Like, this feels like something that it's number one here in his list of why you can expect this. He says, Magic loves transformation. There are just a lot of cards and abilities that magically change something from one form to another. So, like, and I agree. Like, this is pretty much any set you go to. Like, Mutate makes total sense with transform cards, right? It's like a creature mutates into something else. You could easily represent that with double face cards. Fairy Tales. I think you and I even predicted that in Throne of Eldraine there was gonna be flip cards.
Who's this we?
I think I said it. But I was like, that happens all the time in Fairy Tales of someone or something being transformed from one thing to another. I thought it made perfect sense. But the reality is, every set could work with double face cards. So anyway, he says expect more of that. Next, punch-out technology. Basically having extra card inserts in packs where you punch things out to represent things. So for example, from Ikoria, keyword ability tokens. So
I like this diagram of two fingers tearing apart the buttholes down there.
What are you looking at?
Embalmed, exerted, embalmed, 1/1, 1/1, and then you have diagrams at the bottom showing you how to do a punch out.
Yeah.
And it looks like Goatse, so you know.
So they say
good deal.
Expect more of that. And I think this is kind of a mild way of saying we're designing for online now. Expect us to do more of that and come up with ways in paper to keep track of the things that are effortless to keep track of online.
Yeah. All right. Cool punch outs.
Now we're getting into the interesting stuff. Cards that can't go in your deck. This is the weirdest one, in my opinion. I see you're making a face already.
Is it just supposed to be cards that are only brought in if you have a thing that says bring something in from outside the game?
Yes. So basically it's like, he talks about a mechanic that they never used, that they designed but didn't use from Avacyn Restored called Forbidden. And basically, yeah, you would have a card that says, take a forbidden card from outside the game and shuffle it into your deck. You don't get it in your hand, but it goes in your deck. So
sounds fun.
You can imagine something like, in my head, it's like, almost like put a Power 9 into your standard deck. Like,
right.
Take Ancestral Recall, shuffle it into your deck. You don't get it in your hand, but it's in your deck now. That's interesting. I feel like it's very weird that he spoiled that, basically, in this article.
I mean, is it really a spoiler?
It's not a spoiler, but it's like all the other stuff is like, yeah, these are things that I can see you doing in the future. And this one is like, be on the lookout for this one.
Huh.
Very interesting. And also, I'll also point out number 4 on this list from this same category. These could be powerful reprints that need a hoop to jump through. This is similar to one, but the feel of it is very different. So that's why it makes me think of like, oh, you can bring in Black Lotus or something. It wouldn't be literally Black Lotus because that's on the reserve list, but you see what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Crazy cards that they always try to get in. Like, I'm thinking of the suspend cards from Time Spiral where they took power cards and made them suspend. Could be a similar thing here. I could see them doing that. Okay, next. Card components outside the deck.
Emblems, okay, cool.
Emblems or the Monarch card So some game token that's not actually a card in the game. They consider doing more of that. That seems very easy to do. Like, they could be doing that with things besides just emblems.
This is a long list.
But I think, okay, we'll just rattle through. And if you have any thoughts about any of these, because I think at least one of them you'll be excited about. Additional decks, so like mini decks that sit outside your normal deck that interact in some way. They toyed around with that in Unstable. Skip that. Mini games. This is the one I feel like you would be excited about.
Depends.
Because you tend to like mini games.
Maybe.
And so they reference a bunch of silver border cards that start a mini game, basically.
Yeah.
And in ways, they've already done this. Like, level up cards, in my opinion, are like little mini games. Quest cards are like mini games. I also like mini game style cards.
What the hell was that?
I think a World War I biplane just flew by.
Whoops.
And
Okay.
Then only two more left. Affecting deck construction. They've already toyed around with this with Companion. I like that aspect of Companion, where it's like, here's a restriction on how you can build your deck. Obviously, Companion was a little overtuned. Obviously, they kind of dropped the ball with that one. But that core idea of, here is a restraint on how you can build your deck, that's cool. I think that's interesting. But giving you an extra free card that's always in your hand from the beginning of the game is not the way to handle that, probably.
That was the last thing.
Last one is probably the most boring one, but it's good to have. Top-down designs. Basically saying, I want to make this fantasy trope. How do I turn it into a card? I want to make Peter Pan into a card. What would Peter Pan do if he was a card?
Kill pirates.
Yeah, exactly. So
this card affects only pirate creature types.
Right. It has
and can kiss mermaids.
Right.
And
It has flying as long as you control
when
a
you
fairy.
assemble all of the Lost Boys, you win the game.
Sure, So that's top-down designs. They've done that from literally the beginning of the game, so I'm not sure why this is in the article, but whatever.
Whatever.
So that's
Just
the future
reminding
of Magic.
people. All right. Are you guys going to slow down? Are you guys going to take more time when you do R&D? Are you guys going to change your process and how you get cards out the door? Because that to me is more concerning than anything.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. So I opened this article. It's like, from Mark Rosewater, The Future of Magic. I was like, holy shit, what is this?
You're going to talk about your process in designing.
Yeah.
Nope. We're just going to throw a bunch of things that we're doing, but it scares me.
I think it's interesting. I think this was interesting because it felt like, it's not totally transparent, but it feels like a pretty transparent, like, I can see all these things being on a list that some suit gave in a meeting, being like, these are the things that test well with our demographics. We're going to do more of these things in the next 3 years, They love these double-faced cards. Double-faced in every set. New frames, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just struck me as being kind of, not naked, but very few clothes on this corporate model, and they're just presenting it to us.
I don't want to see Magic's dick.
I don't know. It reminds...
But Kenny does.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's interesting to get this insight. I just listened to a podcast, Dice Removal, the Prof, Pleasant Kenobi. They were talking about double masters, and in particular, they were talking about the name double masters. You and I talked about double masters as well.
I can't remember, but okay.
Well, you were basically saying, like, what is this name? I don't understand.
Why is there two?
And they were saying, their theory was that this sounds like almost like a corporate entity, a corporate person came in and said, we need some kind of gimmick. I don't know, double everything in the next set. And then they're just like, all right, call it double. Who cares? Like,
Double, boy in trouble.
That's what this article feels like to me. It feels like they told Mark Rosewater, all right, we want you to hype up the stuff that we're going to be doing that we know that they love. And he's like, okay, new frames, counters, cards.
Transforming, recycling old mechanics. We're gonna make them fresh and new. We've talked about it a lot, where it's like, for me, I'm more interested in process, and I can tell. Usually you can tell in a product when stuff is rushed. Movies, TV shows, games, video games are buggy as shit when they come out. Always have a patch or whatever. And to me, it's like, I personally would rather have a well put together, really well thought out set that I have the time to enjoy. Because I am a creature of habit. I will play the same fucking video game over and over and over again. I did it with Plants vs. Zombies. I do it with Harvest Moon. I do it with Animal Crossing. If I love something, I am going to... That's just me. I don't need new and flash. And maybe you could do that for your market that wants new flash all the time. But I think core Magic needs to be treated like a fine wine or a nice cheese. You milk a cow and you pasteurize and you put it in a casket and you take the time that you need to take on it so it's really good and cheesy. I don't know how cheese works. Is there stomping in there?
Yeah, no.
Or is that wine? Oh, I got the wine and the cheese mixed up.
I mean, I suppose the counter argument to that is, if you like old Magic, you can just play old Magic.
Shut up! I want new things too!
I mean, I feel like it's interesting because we talk about all these things. I don't buy very many new Magic cards, really.
No, I don't buy anything either.
Funnily, I'm currently looking at my cube list and thinking about another round of updates, so I am looking to buy some new cards right now. But, you know, the cube is like a testament to what I'm talking about. Like, if you like playing one mode of Magic, you can just do that. It's the people that want to play in any kind of competitive scene, or who just want new toys to play with, that this stuff really matters. I'm
just old.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just old and tired.
Me too. I want to go take a nap.
I want to take a nap. I already took 2 naps today.
I've got my 27-year-old child.
Magic the Gathering. And we're going to take a nap. No, I don't know. Like, I think today's energy levels and interaction with the articles is completely because of how tired I am as a person right now. I did have a migraine today, so that's...
Disclaimer.
It's favorite thing to have in the world.
It's fine. I think
waking up
I think it was still a good discussion.
In the morning and going, hell yeah, I feel like vomiting. That's my best kind of day. All right, I'm out of here. Bye.
Okay, well, let's sign off. This is Red Mage Blue Mage. You can find us on Twitter at RedBlueMTG. I'm Kenny. You can find me at Wolfmere.
I'm Amber, and you can find me at Rocket Orca, and you can find all of our shows on the GeekSpect Net. Oh my God. On the GeekSpective network at geekspective.com.
And we stream our recordings Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv//.
We're falling apart!
Oh my God. GeekSpective. All right, let's end it.
It's quality content. All right. Bye.
Goodbye.
I don't know what I'm doing. I gotta mute things. I'm muting things. Bye.
What a disaster.